From beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, it is the Neglected News Report. I'm your co-host, Scott Mitchell, along with my brother, Kevin.
Good afternoon.
And we are definitely, we're getting the nickname Valley of the Sun is sure sticking here this week. Had a little overcast, cloudy day yesterday, but for the most part, it has been gorgeous.
We have a couple 8-1 football teams. Arizona State, ranked number 6th in the nation. And then the Arizona Cardinals 8-1 with the best record in the NFL.
But like Kevin told me before the show, they're not giving the Cardinals much hope since Carson Palmer went down last week. They're all writing them off.
But I heard an interesting statistic that of all the football teams that have won the Super Bowl, like 9 of them were done with replacement quarterbacks. And you know the most famous one was?
I don't recall. You brought this up to me like a week or so ago, I think.
Tom Brady.
Oh, that's right.
He filled in for what's his name from he played at Washington State. You know him. Oh, I'm drawing a blank.
I don't recall.
But he filled in and never gave up his position again.
That was a while ago too.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah. So we'll see. I think this week's game is very winnable, but it's against Detroit. But then we've got like 2 games against Seattle, 1 against the Rams, 1 against the Niners, and we play Kansas City.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So anyway, there's one other game in there too besides, isn't there?
Atlanta. We
got to play. That's at home?
In Atlanta.
We can win that one, even in Atlanta, I think.
Well, we'll see.
All right, guys, we got a lot to cover today, and I'm going to let Kevin start.
Oh, why me? Well, we became friends with a new character this week. His name's Jonathon Gruber. Jonathon Gruber is a professor at MIT, and he was responsible for writing much of Obamacare. Well, it seems like a regular American citizen, I can't remember his name, I don't have it in front of me, he lost his insurance because of Obamacare, so he decided to do some research on Obamacare, and he just went on the net, YouTube, what have you, and he started finding curious videos of Mr. Jonathon Gruber talking about Obamacare and basically telling on tape what a farce it is, what a big lie it was, what they had to do to get it passed. I'm surprised you didn't get it recorded. Did you have?
No, I completely forgot to do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So basically, it's not only did he deceive the American people, and he was quite proud of it, but he called us all stupid. And
literally, not figuratively, literally called us stupid. He said it was the stupidity of the American people that was the main reason why this got passed.
Yeah, and it's on there several times. Basically, it's not basically what he said. In essence, was the ends justify the means.
But here's what made it worse. It was the stupidity of the American people that allowed it to get passed. He said, but he said they were also counting on that.
Yeah. Well, it not only was he counting on the stupidity of the American people, but he was also counting on a complicit press.
Yep.
I just heard this morning. There's a Fox business correspondent. Her name is Melissa Francis. She's an ex-child star. I forget what stuff she starred in. But anyway, she used to work for CNBC, and she now works for Fox. And when she was there at CNBC and was reporting on Obamacare, she told, she would get on in front of the cameras and say, this Obamacare, these numbers don't add up. They just don't add up. And she wasn't even going into the politics of it. All she was talking about was the math and how those numbers weren't adding up. So one day, the powers that be at NBC called her into the office. She didn't name any names, and told her that she was disrespecting the office of the president by questioning the numbers. Now, I'm sorry, but that's creepy. That should put a chill down anybody's spine. That the media, whose job it is to hold the government, and that includes the president, accountable.
Yeah.
And that's called being a real news person.
By the way, she was on Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, that's right.
Other things.
Yeah, she was the little girl. I think she was the youngest one.
It says here for 11 episodes.
Yeah, I never watched that.
Linda Wabash.
Was never big into it.
No, she was on Joe's World, which was 11 episodes. 21 episodes of Little House as Cassandra Cooper Ingalls. Never watched it either, so.
But, that's what the media has become. They're not even cheerleaders for Obama. It's worse than that. They're just part of the administration. There's no delineation, with the media and the White House anymore. They are one and the same. And all they do is bash Fox. And I'm not a huge fan of Fox, but at least they come close. They're the only ones, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, all of them, none of them reported on this Jonathon Gruber story.
CNN did. I saw some stuff from CNN.
Well, she was just saying that
I saw it posted actually.
That it hadn't,
but out of the big three network broadcast stations, ABC, NBC, nothing. CBS, 3 minutes, 33 seconds of it this week only.
Well, they had to. It was out there. I know Rush really hammered it home this week. There was
another demographic or metric or whatever I hate these words, that they pulled out, and the only one that did anything again was CBS.
Well, this is important stuff because it basically shows you how the sausage is made. And it ain't pretty.
No one wants to look but know how the sausage is made. That's the problem.
Yeah, and this Gruber, just this disdain he must have for the average American. He just is. When you think of an elite, this is who you think about. I mean,
here's how I'm looking at it too. I'm not saying that he was right, but come on, folks. We got a country that either you're uninformed because you choose to be, you're ignorant because some of the stuff is being kept from you, or you're in the know and you keep your mouth shut. I can understand why they would think you're stupid, even though you're not. But the problem is, keep that to yourself. You don't say that in public about the people. Or don't get your. I mean, did this guy honestly think he wasn't going to be on camera or on mic?
And of course, Obama comes out. I don't know. Did he say that he didn't know about it? He didn't know about it.
Pelosi, I thought that said that.
No, she did too. But Obama, he just kind of shrugged his shoulders, like, I don't even know who this guy is. Yeah, right.
But you paid him $400,000 to advise on your premier legislative success.
It's a lie. Because he was actually on the White House log, as a visitor to the president.
But then again, it's okay. Obama can do that because he also said 3 years ago when he was speaking before La Raza down in Tucson, Arizona, that someone yelled out, he's saying, I wish I could do something about, there's a problem at the border. Someone yells, do something. Well, I wish I could. The law prohibits me from doing it. And they yell, well, do something or change the law. That shows the ignorance or stupidity of the person saying that, but.
I remember that. And I wouldn't put it past him for that to be a plant, just to see what kind of reaction it would get.
There's been numerous, they were doing a collage of it this week, I think on Megyn Kelly's show, of all the times since he became president where he says, he can't do anything about the border unilaterally. It's got to go through Congress. Well,
it looks like he's going to be. Scott, talk about administrative powers.
Administrative power. Here's the thing. Okay. You're talking about executive orders and all that?
Yes.
Here's the thing, folks. Executive orders. Okay, they make this big deal about the fact that he's passed fewer executive orders than George Bush did, George W. Bush, or Clinton, or George H.W. Bush, or Reagan. But here's the thing about it. I'm not saying that they were 100% in line with this, but executive orders are not meant to create new laws and new regulations. They are meant to help implement or, execute laws that have already been passed by Congress. That's what they're used for. He is using them to create new laws and new regulations. That's why it doesn't matter about the quantity of laws or the executive orders, it's the quality. Quantity doesn't matter. Well, it does.
Yeah,
but
he's making them out of whole cloth.
I mean, it stands to reason that if you are charged with executing a law, or think about it in private industry. I work for a healthcare organization. We have to abide by HIPAA regulations. In order to do that, we have a compliance department that puts the policies in place that we have to follow in order to comply with the regulations. They are taking the quote law and they are issuing orders that we have to follow so that they can execute the law. It's the same thing with the president and the executive branch. That's all it is. And he's not. He's actually creating, when he's trying to do this with the border, he is not using executive orders to carry out laws that have been passed by Congress. He is creating new laws by saying, well, no, we're going to forgive 4 or 5 million people who are the parents of children born here in the U.S. They don't have to go back to their country of origin. They can stay.
He's playing dictator.
Exactly. And here's something else you got to realize, folks. There is a difference between a president and a ruler and an administrator. They are all different. Our government doesn't rule over us. Or in theory, they're not supposed to. They're supposed to govern us and protect our rights. But it's gotten out of hand, and they're to the point where they are ruling it over us. An administrator is someone who administers. He doesn't preside. A president presides. Look it up.
Funny you should bring up that word administrator.
It was on purpose.
There was a book. It was called Philip Drew Administrator. It was written in 1920. It was written by a man named Colonel Edward Mandell House. He was Woodrow Wilson's brain. You know how they used to talk about Karl Rove being George W. Bush's brain? Well, Colonel Mandell House was Woodrow Wilson's brain. Mm-hmm. And he had a lot to do with getting the Federal Reserve Act passed. Everything evil he had his hand in. Well, he wrote this book called Philip Drew Administrator. It was probably one of the most boring books you'd ever want to read. But in it, he opined that he thought that the best government would be one that had basically sort of a dictatorial figurehead, and that it would be ministered, by guys like Jonathon Gruber.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's something interesting too. I'm reading on
all
Wikipedia.
The smartest pinheads.
I know. I'm reading on Wikipedia about the book Philip Drew Administrator. It says historian Paul Johnson wrote, oddly enough, in 1911, House, the writer of the book, had published a political novel, Philip Drew Administrator, in which a benevolent dictator imposed a corporate income tax, abolished the protective tariff, and broke up the credit trust. A remarkable adumbration of Woodrow Wilson in his first term. And you could fill in the blank with Obama.
He basically foretold what exactly they were going to do.
Yeah, I mean...
you posted this today, Scott, about Obama's what they're predicting. While everybody thinks, he's going to make this big announcement about immigration, which he probably will. There's one lurking in the background that no one's paying attention to.
Oh, yeah. The United Nations anti-gun treaty.
And it's due to be enforced on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
And there's some whispers going on that Obama's going to use executive powers.
And I think this would be one. I honestly think this would be the final straw. I think Congress would actually stand up against that.
Oh boy, it depends. What would they have? They have to go into gun confiscation, right? You would be on a list. I have registered weapons. I mean, I would literally be put on a list according to this, according to what United Nations wishes for us. And why we listen to that bunch of despots, dictators, and psychopaths is beyond me.
That would be, if nothing else, that would be the one thing that would create a constitutional crisis, I think.
Oh, more than that, that would be something that would get people in the streets.
Well, the reason why is people don't understand separation of powers like they understand the Second Amendment.
Now,
I mean, think about it, really.
Well, that was a treaty. This is a treaty, isn't it? Is it a treaty?
But I don't think it's been. I don't think it's been approved by the.
This is another one that Obama. Well, he did the same thing with the climate.
Kyoto.
No, he's just made an agreement with China. Was preliminary agreement with China this week when he was over there wearing the Mau Mau shirt.
That we would reduce our carbon by 2030. We would reduce our
carbon. No. We would reduce ours immediately, and we would give China until 2030 to do theirs.
And you know the reason why? You know the reason why the excuse given why they're giving them the China that long?
Because we create most of the world's CO2?
No, because China creates more than we do. It's because
I know, but we're told the world is told that
it would take that long for their factories to break down and be replaced with something that's cleaner.
Well, which this is so maddening. We're arguing about. We're honestly making legislation against something we exhale, CO2. Mm-hmm. That plants need to survive. It's called symbiosis. They produce oxygen. We breathe it in. We exhale carbon dioxide. It's a beautiful thing that, yes, I'll say it, God created. Mm-hmm. And we've put a bounty on its head now. We've created a boogeyman in CO2 that only makes what do we say of all the gases in the air?
CO2 less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
0.002%, I think, 2000s.
But it's what makes our jungles lush, our forests green, our grass green. It's a joke. And there's only one person out there. Yes, I'll say his name, Satan, devil, whatever. That could dream up something so sinister. I don't even. There's no words for me to describe it. And we're going to throw our economy out the window. We're already doing it with coal plants. We're getting rid of all of our coal plants.
I heard the stupidest thing today. How the rest of the country's getting cold right now, and we're not.
Coldest November.
And we're not here. We're kind of mild. And I actually heard someone said, well, there you go. It's global warming.
Well, it's not. It's called El Nino, probably.
No, what it's called is this is how it is every year in Phoenix this time of year.
It's called weather. But, 20 years ago, when I first, it might have been longer than 20-something years ago, when they switched from the Great Ice Age to the global warming, I was like, okay, but by then they were already trying to shut down our Freon and, because of the ozone hole that never really was, but
chlorofluorocarbons couldn't be put in aerosol cans anymore. And
so I started, going, okay, we got global warming, I'll do my part and so forth. But then I just started seeing what the remedies were. The remedies were all economic. So that's when my antennae went up, and it started thinking, okay, wait a minute. How is it, by me taking $1 out of my pocket and giving it to somebody in Africa, let's say, how that's going to affect the climate? That's all it is. It's wealth redistribution. It's called worldwide communism is all it is. It's a big lie. Folks, open up your eyes. There's nothing but deceit out there.
And here's the thing. Who are the two biggest polluters in the world? China and India. Yeah. What do they both have in common? Between them, they both hold about half the world's population.
3 billion. 3 billion people. I think India has 1.3, and China's got over 1.5 billion.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's after murdering a lot of.
And you know
people.
what? 3 billion. Okay, you know what that is? That's 10 times as much as the U.S. has, and they're saying we're the number one polluter.
And we're basically what Obama wants us to do is compete on the world economic stage with our hands tied behind our backs.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a ruse, him saying that. He wants us to compete. It's a bunch of BS.
You know why the gas prices are going down, don't you? Because we're producing more oil.
Right. Well, yeah.
Fracking. Ooh, say that evil word.
But that's evil.
Fracking.
Yeah, I know. I had to talk with a guy. One of the guys at work, he was going off about fracking. He was going off about the XL pipeline.
Mary Landrieu, we got to talk about her.
Yeah, he was going off about the XL pipeline. Was it XL what? What's it called?
XL. Is it Alaskan pipeline?
No, it's the XL pipeline.
Yeah, whatever.
How they're going to probably vote it into. They're going to probably approve it and everything. And he says, "Oh God, there we go. There. Why? What's wrong? It'll create all these jobs. There's going to be all kinds of oil spills and everything." I go, "What are you talking about?" And you know what? It's not over water. We don't really have that much of a problem with oil spills on dry land. It's in water. And then I said, he goes, well, yeah, same as fracking. I go, what? They're fracking in North and South Dakota. They don't have, oh, yes, they do. It's polluting the water up. Prove it.
Remember all the dire predictions that happened after the BP oil spill? That the whole ecosystem along the Gulf of Mexico was going to perish. Had zero effect on it.
Yeah.
There were some dirty birds that they had to clean up. Yes, got it. Some fish washed to shore. I'm not poo-pooing it. You know, you try to minimize that. Definitely try to minimize that. But,
and people are coming back to the job. It's starting to, finally, the Gulf Coast is starting to rebound, finally. It's only taken, 3 years?
Yeah.
Has it been?
So now, Mary Landrieu,
oh, God.
Senator from Louisiana.
Miss Piggy.
Who was probably going to in Louisiana they had three people in the race. They had Republican, a Democrat, Mary Landrieu, and an independent. So what ended up happening was the independent kind of screwed everything up. They have a law where you have to get at least 50% of the vote in order to become senator. Well, the independent screwed it up for basically the Republican because the Republican ended up winning, but he didn't have 50%. So anyway, they're going to have a runoff between Mary Landrieu and the Republican, and right now she's down by like 15 to 20 points. So what does she do? She all of a sudden changes in midstream, and now she's backing the pipeline. Did you see that this week?
I saw it.
And it's all. She basically, excuse my language, crapped in Obama's.
And there's also the speculation that she might not be considered a legal resident of Louisiana because she lives in a $2.5 million home in Capitol Hill, Washington.
Yeah, she doesn't even own a residence in Louisiana.
I know. I mean, this is a direct violation right there of the residency laws for any state.
And what did she say the week prior to the election? She was in an interview. She said it. She said, now, it's really difficult for people like me in the South me and black people, because they don't really like black people and they don't really like women down here. We're basically, obviously I'm paraphrasing it, but that's what she said. She said it's a bunch of racists and sexists. Well, let me ask you then, Miss Landrieu, how many times have you been elected to be senator of Louisiana? They can't be that misogynist. Okay? And also, what color was the skin of the mayor of New Orleans before he went to prison?
Ray Nagin?
Black. So quit it. That stuff is old.
We are going to be a chocolate city.
Yeah,
as he once said.
A chocolate city.
To quote the former black mayor of New Orleans.
And remember, they both blamed Katrina on George Bush when they actually ran the state?
If you recall, folks, there were tons of school buses they could have used to evacuate people out of there. But Nagin didn't call the order out. And in the aftermath, to load people up, instead they sent them to the Superdome, and some of them got sick, some died. But do you remember what Jesse Jackson's response was to that when people criticized Ray Nagin for not using the school buses?
Sure, he pulled out the race card.
No, he said, but where would you drive them to? Does it freaking matter, Reverend Jackson?
How about to high land?
I mean, the excuses these guys come up with are just ridiculous.
Take them off the road to Baton Rouge. That's high land, higher land. So where were we? Global warming.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what. He does cap and trade, folks. You can kiss it goodbye there, because the man's doing everything he can possibly do to just destroy this country. And I know that sounds like it's hyperbole, but it's not.
Look what has he done? You know, well, the major thing was Obamacare, and the full consequences of that have yet to be realized. I'm really fortunate because I work for a company that pretty much finances its own health care. My insurance only went up. All my insurance, medical, dental, vision, legal assistance, everything, accidental death and dismemberment only went up $30 a month this year.
Well, didn't Eisenhower, I believe it was Eisenhower, who wrote that's the first, after confiscation of guns, that a socialistic government does, they take over the healthcare system. That's what they do. The Nazis did it after they took guns. He's doing it almost beautiful. He's doing it. His choreography is beautiful on this. He's mirroring what's already been done in the past.
You see other countries that have had guns confiscated, Australia, Britain, they've done it pretty much rolled over and said, here, take them. I don't think it's going to be like that in the U.S. because here's the difference. It's a mindset here. It is a culture here.
Yes.
It's not in those other countries.
It's our Second Amendment after freedom of speech and religious freedom.
I mean, honest to God, I think there would be a real problem here. Because I'll tell you what, I know a lot of people who call themselves liberals who are pretty uninformed on most things. You try to take their gun, you're going to have to fight them.
Well, you remember on our old website, I posted how many...
Well, speaking about website, I hope to have it up sometime by the end of the year, folks, and we're going to start posting our own original stuff.
Okay. There was an expose done about confiscation of weapons and what happens. It started at the turn of the last century, the turn of the 19th into the 20th century forward, and basically chronicled what happens when you have to be tyrannical in order to take people's guns away. Tyrannical governments take power. The first thing they do is take guns, and then they start killing their citizens. And that's it happened with the Turks and the not the Algerians, but the
Moroccans,
Albanians. Albanians, yeah. The Turks took over the Albanians, took their guns, murdered hundreds and thousands of people. Then, of course, you know what happened in the Bolshevik Revolution. You know what happened in Nazi Germany. You know, Pol Pot. It follows. It goes in line. Mm-hmm. You know, you take people's ability to defend themselves away. It's really easy to do. You know, it's easy to. Secondly, after you take their guns, it's easy to shut their mouths. And if they don't shut their mouths, it's easy to kill them.
But at least in this country, the Second Amendment, yeah, you can argue that it's for self-protection. It's also because the Founding Fathers knew that should the government become tyrannical, that we would need a way of resisting them. There's that to remember also.
Yeah. Well, what did, was it Tito? No, what was it? The Japanese, wasn't Hiro. Was it Hirohito or Marshal Tito? Anyway, when the Japanese at one time had considered invading the mainland, but he said that would be impossible because there would be a gun behind every blade of grass. Yeah. And that kept the Japanese at bay from invading the United States during World War II. Yeah. Because they knew that they would be fighting town to town, house to house, city to city, because everybody had a gun.
And I honestly believe that Obama wants to bring this country down because he thinks that we've lorded it over the rest of the world for too long. He comes from a point of view, I honestly believe, from everything I've read about it, where he's an anti-colonialist, and he considers America, the United States, empirical colonialist. And I can't disagree to a certain degree with him.
Well, I believe that's kind of simplistic, and I'm more of on the conspiratorial side.
That's part of it, though.
Just got done reading a real short book. It's called None Dare Call It Conspiracy. It was written in 1971 by professor from one of the University of California schools. Allen is his last name.
I don't remember. I've got a copy, but I read it years ago.
Basically, what he writes about is the world ain't quite what you think it is, and this was over 40. This is 43 years ago, and really and he goes into the creation of the Federal Reserve, the United Nations, all of that, and what he basically states is that what the people who run this world want is a one world government, which they're working. What do you think the League of Nations tried to be until it wasn't passed by the United States, and what the UN is? They want a one world government. And what system do you think that one world government will operate under? What kind of system do you think the average person will operate under? It's called communism.
Yeah.
And what do you think Obama loves so much? Communism. Because communism's not for the communists, it's for the people.
Yep.
What you have in communism is you have a very, very small, powerful elite and everybody else.
Known as an oligarchy.
And everybody else. There is no middle class. And what are we seeing disappearing right now before our very eyes? The middle class, while at the same time Obama sits there and tries to be the champion of the middle class that he destroys. They were called the bourgeoisie. In old communist talk, it's the great enemy was the bourgeoisie. That's us, folks. Those are people who make, $50,000 a year.
Exactly.
But fight to make their mortgage payment, have a car, 2 kids and a dog.
I mean, I myself, I live in a 20-year-old house. I drive a 10-year-old car. I pretty much hardly ever go clothes shopping.
Yeah, I live in
I make a little over $50,000 a year, and come on.
I live in a 40-year-old house, and drive a 10-year-old truck.
It's not like we're going out and buying stuff new every year.
Yeah, if we're the bourgeoisie, if we're the big enemy, well, that's pretty pitiful.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I know anyone that's really higher up on the social scale or the economic scale than we are.
Oh, they're diminishing. There's less and less. This idea that somehow this economy is in recovery is just
it's pathetic.
It's a joke.
It's ridiculous.
And we've gone over what the unemployment numbers really are. The latest they came out a couple weeks ago saying it was 5.8%. Well, yeah, when you take 92 million people out of the equation, sure, we got 5.7%, but those 92 million people are out of the workforce, not looking, aren't working, getting a check from the government.
Then all of a sudden you got yourself an unemployment rate of 15 to 20%.
Easily, and worse in the African American community.
And kids can't even get summer jobs anymore.
Oh no! As a matter of fact, I think that's by design too. I think they want to whip the entrepreneurial spirit out of people. Why do you think kids get harassed when they have lemonade stands anymore? They don't,
that's just on the local level.
Yeah, they don't want your kids to be fending for themselves. They want them wards of the state. They don't want them to be independent. What are they doing now with family gardens? Have you been following that?
No, not lately.
Yeah, the bureaucrats are coming in and basically, clamping down on people that are growing their own food because they don't want you to be independent. You're harder to control that way.
But yet there's some areas...
You are a resource. You aren't a human being.
There are some areas of the country I've been reading about that have farm collectives where they're community gardens, community farms. If you ever go to urbanfarming.com, they talk about it, and they start out with individual family gardens.
California, where they're having the worst droughts in hundreds of years, they make it illegal in certain areas to collect rainwater.
Yeah.
Rainwater. It's like, okay, is this planned misery? Is this being planned?
Yeah. Or
I read today that the mayor of Los Angeles uses 5 times the water that the average person does.
Then there's
in his home.
Then there's other things in some areas of the country where you can't develop on land that you bought because there might be a puddle and they consider it a wetland.
No, that's Agenda 21. See, everything is. They have to wear a mask for everything they do. This is just power grabs. This has nothing to do with the environment. Zero to do with the environment. It has everything to do with taking your property rights away from you and pushing you into the city and you know,
so they can better rule over you, basically.
This is Agenda 21. Now, every liberal in the world would be getting a kick out of things we're talking about today, because I have a liberal friend who says, "Oh, that's all voluntary." No, it's not voluntary. You know, Agenda 21 is voluntary for all communities. No, it's not voluntary.
No.
Try telling that to people whose land's already been taken from them. Try telling that to people who don't want smart meters put on their houses.
Yep.
You all probably have smart meters. You know those smart meters? They can tell the government how many people are living in your house. How you do things, when you do things, how often you do things. You name it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a control grid is all it is.
Because they realize when they get you in smaller areas and have things like this on your house and everything, like smart meters, you're easier to control.
Do you want to know something else that sounds conspiratorial, but it's very, very true? Your appliances anymore have spy devices on them, like your computer. The little camera on your computer. You know, and you don't think the NSA can use that to spy on you? Of course they do. Now, TVs, appliances, all of them. When you see that, the blue symbol on all the appliances you get anymore? I can't think of the name of it.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, those are all monitoring devices. All of them. Sorry, sounds conspiratorial. Call me a wacko. Call me whatever you want.
What about the V chip in TVs?
Well, that has that capability. That's what I'm talking about.
Anything that's mandated electronically in your electronic devices by government, you got to be suspicious of.
How about your phone?
Oh yeah, with this week with the Department of Justice.
If you were ever trying to escape somebody, first thing you ever do is throw your phone away, because all that is one big beacon.
Or at the very least, shut it off and take the battery out.
Well, they got those. What do they call them? The pockets that you can that can block a lot of that. You know, it's a special encasement that you can put your phone in. I forget what do they call them. I don't.
But I mean, shutting it off would turn off any signals or pulling the battery out. But then again, you know how hard it is for me to pull the battery out of my phone? Next to impossible in a very fast manner, because I use an OtterBox.
Well, I made it. I love this phone. I got this new HTC One phone. I really like it, but unfortunately, my brother alerted me to the fact that I can't take the battery out of this.
Yes.
So
it's got a pretty crummy camera.
So that's what kept him. He got the Galaxy S5. I had the S3, which I really loved. But anyway, we're going a different direction. Did you hear about that? I'm going to go in a totally different direction here. You hear about that? Those groups of feminists at the Vatican?
Not until this morning when you told me.
Oh boy, it's group. They're called Femin, which feminists, FEMEN. They're European of some sort. They speak with accents. I don't know if they're French, Italian, or whatever. But anyway, they went to protest at the Vatican, protest the Pope. They were never really specific about what, and of course they do that with topless. Oh, yeah, that topless. Yeah. Why is it that whenever PETA or somebody's protesting the eating of meat or the wearing of fur, they always got to do it naked? What's the point there? I don't get. Well, anyway, this group of women not only went topless, but they were wearing black leather skirts. PETA would not approve of that black leather, and they got down on all fours and simulated anal sex with a crucifix. All the time yelling anti-Catholic, anti-papal epithets. Now, I'm sorry, that's not feminist. That's satanic. Now,
and gross.
Those are things Satanists do during rituals. They do all sorts of obscene things with crosses. Yep. And children, by the way, which I don't think I'll get a chance to get into that today because that's a deep, dark hole to go down. But yeah, that's what the feminists were doing this week at the.
And I'm just trying to figure out how that's going to bring. All it does is bring attention to them if that's what they want. But you know what? Does it really have the desired effect on the average person? No.
Well, what I want to know is why they waiting for this pope. This pope is the most liberal one there's ever been. He's all for having women become priests and all sorts of liberal.
And I'm going to say it again, folks. I've been saying it for a few weeks now. Beware of this pope. He's not what he appears to be.
Well, you know what sect he's from?
I don't recall.
He's the Warriors. Why am I drawing a blank? Mitchell,
Jesuits.
Jesuits. Yeah, he's a Jesuit, and the Jesuits were the military branch of the Catholic Church for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Weren't the Knights Templar derived from them or something?
That's another story. We could go.
Yeah.
Different directions with them, But yeah, sort of. The Jesuits are really a hardcore branch of the Catholic Church. And, there's a lot of people that think this is the last pope. Of course, that's conspiratorial, but there's talk that he could be. But anyway.
In what way? That they would just do away with the office of pope, or the Catholic Church would disband?
No, there's a lot of people that think that he would be the last pope because this is these are the last days.
Oh, okay. I see.
That's, whether, I don't know one way or the other. The Bible's very specific about that you either know the time or the day.
Yep.
So, what else do we want to talk about?
I don't remember. We had a lot of subjects.
Oh, we've got this, what's her name? Loretta Lynch.
Uh-oh.
The Attorney General to fill Eric Holder's position, and things you need to know about her. She's African American, and she has she has an African American worldview, like Holder's, in the sense that
he's her idol.
Everybody's racist. Everybody that's not African American is racist.
She looks up to him.
As a matter of fact, what she said was that voter ID laws. What did she say? That they're dreamt up by a bunch of racist Southerners. Is that how she put it?
Something like that. And as a matter of fact, I believe those racist Southerners were Democrats.
Yeah, everybody forgets that. She said in a speech at the Long Beach Martin Luther King Center in New York in January, she claimed that efforts to improve the integrity of the election process were an attempt to take back what Martin Luther King Jr. had fought for, and that state legislatures were trying to reverse the gains made in voting. She made it clear she approved of the Justice Department's lawsuits against states such as North Carolina to stop voter ID laws and change in early voting and same-day registration rules, saying such suits will continue. Basically what she's saying is she wants to basically make our voting system a joke and a laugh.
Mm-hmm.
You saw that posting about there was a list of like 30 to 50 different things that you need an ID to perform in our society. Every day you need your ID for something.
Yep.
Yet the Democrats would lead you to believe that it's racist to ask people for their ID to vote.
I still don't understand that. I can't wrap my mind around the logic.
Well, don't try to,
that.
because when you can wrap your mind around it, then you're sick as
they're just saying it because the useful idiots that are going to go along with anything they say are just going to jump on it. They say it, we believe it. Yes, Obama, Obama, Obama.
No, it's Obama.
Well, yeah.
The sheep. Obama.
I was doing it more like a mantra.
She's also against the death penalty. She says it's unequally performed by race. More black people. Well, that's true. Well, if you just look at the numbers, more blacks are disproportionately put to death as compared to whites. But then again, they're convicted and commit more crimes than whites because It goes back to the Great Society, in my opinion. It goes back to the destruction of the black family. And there's lots of societal reasons for it, but you can pretty much trace it all the way back to the liberal Democrats, progressives. Sorry. They create the problem and they come in with the solution that they really never solve. Or they create the situation, the atmosphere for the problem to arise. She said that the death penalty has a disparate impact. I don't want to go into that too much. That takes too much time to explain. But let's suffice it to say that she's going to be Eric Holder on steroids.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, and that everything's going to be a racist plot, and that we're all bad.
Or a sexist plot.
And what was the first thing Holder said when he became Secretary of State? He said we're all cowards when it comes to racial issues here in the United States. I'm sorry, but that's my whole adult life. That's all we ever talk about. Mm-hmm. Racism, sex, all isms. That's all we ever talk about in my lifetime, and I'm 53 years old. You know, if we haven't beaten a dead horse when it comes to racism, I don't know what it is. You know, I don't know what then. But yeah, let's say she's going to be. She's going to be something else.
Well, she's still going to be confirmed.
She will be because of why the Republicans don't have the heart.
Yeah, true. They don't have the strength of their convictions if they have any convictions at all.
Also, Obama broached the subject of internet neutrality this week.
Explain what that's about for everyone.
Well, basically, in a nutshell, he wants to make the internet like any other utility. He wants to regulate it, and he says it's going to be really cool. Always remember something. Take whatever Obama says and flip it on its head, because that you'll be closer to the truth.
If he's going to do that, he might as well make cable TV the same, because you know what? Kevin and I both, well, he doesn't get phone, but I get my phone, my internet, and my TV from the same company.
I have my phone, but I don't use it. I don't even know my phone number.
We get our phone, internet, and TV from the same company.
I don't use my landline. I don't know the phone number, honestly.
I have to, because I have an alarm system.
The reason I haven't canceled it is because it's no cheaper. They force you to bundle it.
Yeah. But I mean, I get it from the same company. So, I mean, they might as well make the same argument for cable TV.
When the government starts getting involved, see China, into the internet, they control what you can and what you can't see. That is just Obama's way of getting his foot in the door and controlling political speech. Sorry. There may become a time when Scott and I can't do this, and we may have to switch to the written piece of paper again.
By saying that it is a utility, they're also saying it's a necessity.
Okay.
Which goes to another story. Did you hear about this 21-year-old college student in New Jersey? She left home like 2 years ago, went to go live with her grandparents. She sued her parents for college tuition and won.
This has been in the news for a while, but it's coming to conclusion right now.
And I'm watching on Fox News this morning. They got two lawyers. One's against the ruling, one's for the ruling. The guy, the pencil neck geek that's in favor of the ruling, was saying, well, in the state of New Jersey, college education is considered a necessity. Since when has college education become a necessity? It follows along the notion that everyone's got to go to college, which is not true. You don't all have to go to college. Some people are meant to be mechanics. Some people are meant to be bakers.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, we need them all. Then he said that when they kept asking him, not only did the other lawyer and the moderator, I forget who it was at the time, I think it was Tucker Carlson, kept asking, well, where's the law? This guy kept citing the law, but it's the law. But he wouldn't cite what law it was. He just kept citing precedents from previous cases.
Yeah, and unfortunately, precedence has really bastardized a lot of our laws.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to law students who tend to lean more on precedent than they do on the law itself or the Constitution. And that's another reason why we're in the mess we're in.
Well, that's why liberals like precedents, because you can basically change law or interpret law without having to go through any of the legitimate ways that you would change law.
There was another point I wanted to make about that. I'm trying to remember.
And going back to the college students, this idea we've been sold this bill of goods that in order to be anything and go anywhere in this country, you have to go to school. You know what? They did a man on the street the other day at the University of was it Texas or Oklahoma, one of the two, and they were asking people who Joe Biden was. Yeah. These are college students. Didn't know. They didn't know who won the Civil War. They didn't know who we fought the revolutionary, who we got our freedom from,
yep.
why we fought it, who we fought. They don't know any of this. Yet they're spending. That's the next big bubble to burst, by the way, is the student loan bubble, because we've got dummies that are going to school that shouldn't be in school. They should be learning other, trades.
Here's something too. Everyone knows who Bill Gates is. He's one of the top 5 wealthiest people in the world. How many of you know that he never finished college? He dropped out He dropped out of Harvard before his freshman year even finished. And look at him now. I'm not going to agree with his politics, but you can't deny that he is a self-made millionaire.
Jobs didn't either.
Phil Allen finished. He was his partner.
Rush Limbaugh.
He never finished. He never went to college or finished college.
Let me tell you, folks. I are a college grad, and it's very overrated.
I are a tech school grad, but you know what? All that got me was a foot in the door.
You know what? It could even be a negative. I mean, especially with what they're teaching today. The soft, they're not even sciences. You call women's study, that's a science, really?
Yeah.
No, that's an indoctrination is what that is.
That came out of allowing students to pick their own curriculum, make their own curriculum up.
Well, there was an interesting stat I saw the other day, the number of women to male graduates. It's now like something like 60 to 40% or whatever. If I were a boy today, I probably wouldn't want to go to a hostile environment like a university campus either, where you're taught where you're taught that what do they say that when interviewed girls, 1 out of 4 say that they've been raped on campus.
Everyone should watch the movie PCU with David Spade. Honestly, you never saw it?
Never watched it.
It's about political correctness run amok on a college campus, and he's part of the group that fights it.
What school was it where they actually have a contract before you can have sex on campus? And
oh God, I remember hearing about that.
You have at varying stages of the sexual act, you have to ask permission. You have to ask permission like 50 times before you ever get down to the, may I touch your hand?
It sounds like something
May I kiss you? Yes. May I kiss your neck? Yes. May I unbutton your blouse? Yeah. It's just you have to ask permission every step, and then there's a contract you have to sign.
It sounds like something Sheldon Cooper would put together on The Big Bang Theory.
It's crazy. It's craziness. And you know what? It kind of reminds you of like some mad scientist sitting there doing this stupid experiment on a couple of mice and sitting there laughing as he's making these poor mice do all these stupid things because at his heart he's really a sadist. And that reminds me of what these social engineers are doing to humanity.
But here's the thing. That was I will bet you that was put into place because of women, feminists.
Not women, weirdo, feminazi
right,
weirdos.
Exactly. And was feminism started so that women could rule over men?
No, feminism was started by the Rockefeller Foundation.
Right.
And it was a way to get women into the workforce. Period.
For tax,
sorry,
to increase the tax base.
Sorry, ladies, it doesn't have all these far-reaching, benevolent beginnings. If anything, it's malevolent.
No more than FDR or not FDR, LBJ pushing through the Great Society programs. He did that to get votes for the Democratic Party. He said it himself.
What was that? Sigmund Freud's nephew's name, the American who he was a great psychologist that
Young?
No. Oh, I can't. Beth talks about him all the time. Anyway, he was the one who started the campaign to get women to smoke. Yeah, he also invented bacon and eggs.
Oh, Edward Bernays.
Yeah, Edward Bernays. Basically, he plays experiments with people. Got women smoking because, they would supposedly get them to be more independent or something or other. I have no idea. But all he is a big head case.
Yeah, I mean, did you folks know that? Oh, wow. You know what sucks? He lived to be over 100 years old.
Edward Bernays. You know who was a great admirer of his? Goebbels.
Yeah, he did you know before he came along that bacon and eggs was not considered the typical American breakfast?
Nope.
No.
We basically had continental breakfast like they do in Europe. Some bread, some cheese, some meat, some fruit. We actually a better diet. You think about it. But what was that crazy feminist scholar from? She was at the University of Michigan in the 90s. That basically said that sex in marriage was rape.
Nina Totenberg?
No,
that's PBS.
No, I can't remember. Her last name begins with an M. It escapes me right now. But these are the things. No wonder a boy wouldn't want to go on a campus. And these days, he's called a rapist. He's like that stupid YouTube video that went viral about the little girls using the F word and.
Yeah.
Teach your,
about a month or two ago,
accusing boys of being rapists. Teach your boys not to rape. The little 8-year-old girls throwing the F-bombs around.
Well, here's something about Bernays. Going back to that thing about the women smoking, one of the most famous campaigns of Bernays's was a women's cigarette smoking campaign in the 20s. Bernays helped the smoking industry overcome one of the biggest social taboos of the time: women smoking in public. Women were only allowed to smoke in designated areas or not at all. Women caught violating this rule were arrested. Bernays staged the 1929 Easter Parade in New York City, showing models holding lit Lucky Strike cigarettes or, quote, torches of freedom. After the historic public event, women started lighting up more than ever before. It was through Bernays that women's smoking habits started to become socially acceptable. Bernays created this event as news, it was not. Bernays convinced industries that the news, not advertising, was the best medium to carry their message to an unsuspecting public. What does that remind you of?
Obamacare? What?
Abortion.
Oh, yeah. Well,
abortion rights.
You might want to look to see if Bernays had anything to do with that.
He may have.
With, what's her name?
Sanger.
Margaret Sanger. Because basically what Bernays was, he was a propagandist. That's all he was. He was a great manipulator of people's minds. Wouldn't surprise me if he had something to do with Virginia Slim cigarettes too. That was another cigarette aimed specifically at women. You've come a long way, baby. Do they really think women are that stupid? Many of them vote for Obama, so apparently so.
Here's some irony. After his semi-retirement in the 1960s, he worked with the pro-health, anti-smoking lawyer John Banshaf's group, ASH, and supported other anti-smoking campaigns.
Yeah, he's just an opportunist.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's just... anyway, but yeah. Bernays he was, again, a big admirer. Hitler was a big admirer of his. As a matter of fact, if memory serves me correctly, I don't have it in front of me, but I know he and Goebbels had done some things together. Goebbels loved him.
Well, folks, that's it for another show. And coming forward in the future, coming down the line, is we'll have the website back up. You have the means to communicating with us. Eventually, we're going to be taking phone calls through Skype. And if you guys are listening to this, pass the word around, guys. I know some people are out there listening because I'm seeing the hits on our uploads to YouTube. So I know there's some of you out there listening.
Well, there's probably less people listening to CNN or MSNBC than to us, actually.
MSNBC. Although, okay, you have to admit though, when Al Sharpton's show is on, people do it for comic relief.
Oh boy, you ever heard Pat Gray do his Al Sharpton impersonation with the megaphone?
Yes.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Okay. All right, I'm stalling here, folks, because something's happened with our. There it goes. Anyway, folks, we will see you next Saturday at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
All right, see you guys later. Have a good week. Bye-bye.